right, so good morning and welcome to the Friday R.O.M.E.O speaker event, R.O.M.E.O 2.0. So thank you all for attending, and to J&T Property Solutions for the wonderful continental breakfast this morning. We have a lot of kringle up there yet to eat. So do you like to tinker? Are you a crafter, designer, novice, or professional? I am very excited to introduce John Ike today. He's the co-founder of the Bodgery Market. It's a makerspace. And the makerspace is a social group here in Madison, Wisconsin. And they offer tools and space to bring your ideas to life. So help me welcome John Ike.
Thank you. That's how heated that game gets. That's awesome. Can you guys hear me okay? Yes. I've never been accused of talking too quietly, but I just want to make sure everybody gets it. So I'm glad to meet you all. Thanks for coming. So the bodgery is kind of a weird word. It comes from the British term to bodge, which is to hack something together quickly and often poorly, right? So that's what we do. And so we started this. It was a social club, sort of like this. We met in libraries, and we did little workshops like how to build a cigar box guitar or spin art or little things like that. And then eventually we needed to be able to use a soldering iron and even a welder, and we couldn't do that at the libraries. They told us no. So we had to get a spot, and we found this like artist collective, and they said, sure, we got this big space, you can use it for a little bit, and then it kind of went from there. So the makerspace, this is a little presentation I put together that just kind of talks about what a makerspace is and where it came from, the whole idea of it. Because, you know, back in the day, if you wanted a workshop, you had it usually in your garage or basement, or maybe your friend did. And this is the idea where what if we got together, I mean, clearly you all appreciate the value of being social, and work with others, and maybe share some tools. And part of it for me started when I was at one of the Habitat restores, and I saw this wood lathe that needed some work, and I was like, oh, I really want that. But that's a little bit much for our family to afford right now, but if I got a couple of friends, we could share it. So I started to call people about it, and they were like, yeah, maybe, I don't know. And then it just sort of snowballed and then turned into a makerspace. So here we go. Oops. All right, so a makerspace is basically just a workshop with a variety of tools that people can use, both public members and our members, as well as it's not just the tools, it's the people that use them. So when you go there, you get access to the skills and expertise of other makers. You share ideas and get a supportive network. You know, people cheering you on sometimes when they shouldn't, right? When you're sort of heading down a bad path, but you're like, yeah, let's do it. And one of our goals is to bring back the values of repairing things or making it yourself as well, instead of maybe not just throwing it away or buying something new. So let me just talk a little bit about terms. Sometimes these places are called hacker spaces. And hacker spaces tend to be more computer oriented. Maker spaces tend to be more sort of physical tool oriented. That's just you can see the terms. The red line is hackerspace, had sort of a blip there for a while back in 2013. But makerspace really took off for a while. The peak there was 2019. And I just wanted to point out, when you talk about hacking something, we always think about it in the movie terms, you know, some nefarious hacker somewhere with our bank. But it really is kind of a cool term. If you hack something, you just modify it from the way it's supposed to be. So you might put a handle on it, something that didn't have a handle before. You just hacked that. You might, somebody once built an app because they wanted to figure out when the bus was coming. And that didn't exist in Madison. So some guy locally just built this app. That's kind of hacking a system. Sometimes it's your software, like maybe your phone, Apple doesn't want you to add a certain app, and you sort of They call it you jailbreak it, so you can put your own apps on it. All of that is to take something that's not the way it's supposed and modify it to use it the way you want to. And so we still do a lot of that sort of thing, even though we're a makerspace. So this is a movement. Back in the 70s, you remember when the home-built computers and Steve Jobs and Wozniak were in their garage in Silicon Valley, and that was a whole thing. That started it in 1995. I think the first space like this was started in Berlin, Germany, and it was a hackerspace. In 2001, sort of right on the crack there, I'm trying to read this, MIT created a Fab Lab. In 2005, Make magazine got published and said, hey, we're a movement. They started a maker fair in San Francisco. In 2006, they started the first desktop 3D printer. I mean, before that, 3D printers were like $25,000, $100,000 for this thing. And you only used it if you worked in a giant company, right? If you were in an IBM or something, you might have a 3D printer, but most people didn't have access to it. Then this guy built one out of like hardware store materials and said, here's the plans, you can build it too. So that really kicked things off. And in 2016, the White House actually kicked off a summit about maker spaces around the US. We were kind of riding on cloud nine. We're like, oh my gosh, the White House like understands the value of maker spaces. So what is making, right? It's a word we all know, but traditionally people think about things like woodworking or knitting, sewing, leatherwork, upholstery, welding, blacksmithing, machining, bike and auto repair, or it might be arts too. Maybe you like to do fiber arts or carve. You like to carve wood, do screen printing, jewelry making, glasswork, ceramics, 3D design, if we're getting into computer work. You can take your 3D design or your digital design and you can laser cut it, you can print it on a 3D printer, you can route it or mill it out of metal, etc. And then electronics. You can build devices, you can work on their software, you can build circuits, networks, etc. So I think, this is my little pet theory, so you'll humor me. I think the reason this movement got as big as it did was two things. One, people started to rediscover making things with your hands. People started, brewing beer and making wine at home. Chickens became a thing, like keeping bees, growing gardens, knitting circles, craft fairs, Etsy, and a lot of this stuff, and I'm imagining when y'all were young, this was just what people did, right? It's just kind of living. But we got away from that for a while, and so newer generations had to rediscover stuff that before was common sense. People started working with little solar power or wind, little turbines in their on a radio antenna or something, building bikes. They do electric bikes now, electric skateboards. I have one, they're super fun. Cigar box guitars, etc. And then all of that interest combined with, at the time, YouTube started, right? There were videos online, and maybe you really like to do woodworking, and so you stuck a camera over here and filmed yourself making something, and then put it online, and someone else is like, I want to make that thing, and they'd watch your video, and it just exploded. People started watching things online. Facebook happened, Instagram, Pinterest, Instructables, all this stuff. So you've got a new interest in making things, and you've got people talking to each other over the internet about it. Boom. I think that was it. So who would use a makerspace? Well, maybe you're a hobbyist, or you like to tinker with things. Maybe you've got some ideas, you're an inventor. Maybe you're an engineer. Maybe you're a retired engineer, and you still like to get your hands in stuff. You might be an artist or a crafter, or maybe you're starting a business and you want to make a product. You can do that at a makerspace. Basically, or maybe you're an idealist. You like to build and repair things, spend your time, versus buying and replacing things, spend your money. Nothing wrong with spending money on things, but sometimes it's kind of nice to spend your time on it as well. So this is another thing that's kind of cool today is a lot of this stuff. You remember when CAD was a thing that only the auto manufacturers would use, right? You know, it was kind of a big deal. You worked in Detroit, you worked with these enormous mainframe computers and had a CAD. But when I was a kid, like apart from that, nobody had access to CAD, computer-aided design, little 3D image on your screen. But now there's a free program. There's a couple of free programs you can use online. And so you can take your idea, you can draw it in that program, you can export it, and you can take it to our laser cutter and cut it or etch it out of wood. You can 3D print it out of plastic. You can use we have a CNC mill. So it's a mill, so it carves out of metal, and you can take again, your digital design and turn it into something tangible. It's kind of crazy. You can go from the idea in your head to a design on the computer that you can share with other people to collaborate, to making it out of metal right in our shop. Another thing that's kind of nice about a makerspace is we have studios, we call them, but they're little footprints on the floor, 6 feet by 8 feet, or you get 2. And if you want to start a business, maybe you've got a specialized tool you want to set up and not have somebody else break for you. Or you've got special materials, or you just want to leave your project in one place while you're doing other stuff. Or maybe you want to hang out there all day long. So you get a studio, and it's a cheap way to start a business. So we facilitate that sort of thing as well. And then finally, one of the values of the space is this idea of making something together, making something with other people. Sometimes I'll get folks come in and be like, well, I got all these tools in my basement. And I'm like, well, that's awesome. And probably no one will move things when you're not looking or break something when you're not around. However, if that does break, we've got like 50 super handy people to help fix it. And it's kind of fun sometimes to make something with someone else around. Or maybe they know how to do something that you don't. I can't tell you that. I mean, I've learned how to do so many things there. I've learned how to weld. I've learned how to do electronics and solder. I've learned how to do 3D printing. A guy helped me build a 3D printer for my home. Somebody taught me how to do laser cutting. And all of that was just me sort of sidling up to someone and being like, oh, that looks pretty cool. How do you do that? Like, can you tell me more about that? Or, hey, I've been struggling with this one thing, and do you have any ideas? So making together is kind of what we do. These are some of the projects you can see. This is from our old space. We're on our 3rd space now. We just keep getting bigger and bigger. But people make all kinds of amazing things at the Baudry. It's really kind of inspiring to see. So we are the Baudry, as I said. We started in 2013, opened our first location in 2014. We're currently at the former Oscar Meyer property, which is kind of cool for me. I grew up here. So, so when you go out our back door, you're inside the fence of Oscar Meyer. I don't know if any of you work there, but I'd never been in Oscar Meyer before. You know, they kind of locked the gate and they didn't really want you walking around. Well, now we can walk around all we want to, even though we're not supposed to. Don't tell the landlord. But, and it's on about 23,000 square feet, which is just insane. We started at 900 square feet, so it's been quite a thing. Here's some pictures from it. When we were a social club at the library, there on the left, sorry, it's kind of hard to see, doing a little workshop. Our first space in the Artist Collective, there, 900 square feet. And we had the crafting table right next to the woodworkers, which the crafters got super mad about because they got dust all over their stuff. And they're like, cut that out. But it was kind of cozy. We were all on top of each other all the time, and we all knew each other. There was only about 20 of us. And then our second space there on the right, you can kind of see we grew. That was 3,400 square feet. We were like, woo! This is amazing. So we've got the metal shop there, and the laser cutter is kind of tucked in the right, wood shop over to the left. We thought that was amazing, and after a couple of years, we outgrew it. So then in 2019, we moved over to Oscar Meyer, got one of their former machine shop and wood shop, actually. 14,000 square feet. We just thought, there's no way we could ever fill all of this. And we did. because now we're just expanding into the neighboring space to add another 8,000. So we're at about 23,000 square feet. And it's crazy. Our wood shop is doubling. We're adding ceramics. We just recently added screen printing. We're bringing back blacksmithing. We used to have that, and then when we moved into Oscar Mayer, we were just in an industrial park before that. Nobody knew what we were doing or cared. But then we moved into Oscar Mayer, and all of a sudden everybody in the city was very interested in what we were doing. And we said, oh, we're going to do blacksmithing there, and the fire inspector was like, hold up, you're going to do what now? And I'm like, you know, set things on fire constantly. What could go wrong? And she said, yeah, I'm going to need that to not happen until you do certain things. But we're going to make it happen. We're adding a spray booth, all kinds of things. So more studios, because those are super popular for people. So it's been quite a journey. So these are some pictures of things that have happened. On the bottom right, you can see the front of our building, which I just love that industrial vibe that we've got going. And then here, this is our kind of common area. We call it the clean room because you can't make wood dust in it. And this is a competition they held. It's a national competition. They held regional versions, and this was the Madison. It was called Make 48. And so this was a bunch of teams competing to make something cool. And that just happened a couple months ago. There on the left, you see, these are old pictures. You should see the machine shop now. It's kind of crazy. So there's our mill and a couple of the metal lathes. On the right, a young woman's looking at her print on the 3D printer. On the left is our wood shop. And this is the one before we double it in size. And it's kind of crazy. We have 2 table saws that are the saw stop. You know, they're the kind that sense your flesh and stop. We have pretty much every tool you'd need. We have a mortiser with thickness planer, joiner, a lot of jigs, dovetail jigs, like all the stuff. And we have people making everything from first learning how to make a birdhouse to fine furniture. There's an incredible amount of knowledge. We also have, oh, you can't see it here, we got it after this picture, but we have a normal bandsaw, 14 inches. We were pretty proud of that, is the throat on it. And somebody donated one that's 36 inches. It's crazy. It's like much taller than I am. This thing is a beast. And we get such a kick out of those kind of things. You know, it's so hard. You see these beautiful tools from forever ago, and you know it's bomb-proof. It'll last forever. So sometimes we have a hard time saying no about this kind of stuff. So, and we operate in 2 ways. We have members. In other words, we have paid members who get a key fob, like when you checked in here. And you can use the space 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. It's your workshop. Do whatever you want. You can use all the tools. And the public, when it's not a pandemic, sadly, used to be able to come down twice a week, every Monday night and Friday night, and use many of our tools for free. We've closed that during the pandemic. We're going to open it back up again when we can. But for right now, the public can come and get a tour on Friday night and just see the space, talk to us about stuff, ask questions. And then members can sign up anytime and get access to the space. Sorry, the fee is $50 a month. There's no contracts. Seniors, which I don't know if you all would qualify for, but if you know anybody else who'd qualify as a senior, they would get half price, so $25 a month. Students are also half price and financial hardship as well. And so, yeah, and I think that's the end of my presentation. So we're located on the Oscar Mayer property. There's sort of a low brick building right by the giant parking lot in front. And we're there every Friday night from 7 to 9. We're open for tours. Come and see the space. And that's our deal. So, do you have any questions? Yes. I saw you first.
So, when are you going to make the Wienermobile?
We were so excited about the Wienermobile. I almost included a picture of me on a little mini Wienermobile. The folks in Milwaukee, weirdly enough, like, I don't know, there's a Milwaukee makerspace too, and they're awesome. I don't know how they got to it first, but they did. They built a little mini Wienermobile, and they loaned it to us for our grand opening, so I cruised around in that. But
Well,
yeah.
of course, the other thing you probably should do is have a section where you make, hot dogs. And
We should. In the space next door to us, it's this giant brick building, and we rented a piece of it, a section of it. And the one next to us, they still have all the signs up that are like spices and, whatever, boxes and things like that. It was super, I don't know why, but kind of meaningful to me to walk around and see where they did all this stuff and the giant machines.
yeah, because my dad worked at Oscars on the cut floor, and I still, when the knives would get, to the point that they were just get a little too small,
Yeah.
thin,
Yeah.
I have those because those became fillet knives.
Oh, nice.
So, and I'll probably be restoring some of those.
Oh, that's awesome. We have a long belt grinder,
Ah,
which would be very nice for your sharpening and grinding. And then you had a question.
Yeah, excuse me. So is this a nonprofit or is this a national thing?
We're a local thing. About 4 of us started it. 2 of us used to do the library things, and then we said we need a space, and so we brought in 2 of our friends. So 4 of us started the makerspace itself. There are makerspaces all over the country. Most of them are not connected to each other. They're just kind of community built, and we are a nonprofit. Yeah, we did that.
Do you take like donations for unusual things that somebody might be able to use?
We do, but be sure to check with us first, because amazingly, we're in a fortunate position that we do have a lot of tools already, and so it kind of depends on, we might have something already, but please let us know.
I'm not thinking of tools, but I brought in an old chandelier over here.
Oh, no kidding.
Now, I know you can probably take it apart and use, somebody can use it, but...
Actually, you know who would love that would be the Habitat Restore.
Well, yeah, that's my next stop. And they always have so much stuff there that, who knows what it can be used for.
It's true. And as far as that sort of thing, we would all ooh and ah over it and be like, that's super cool, but then it would sit there and need to be put somewhere, and we have so much stuff. It's the problem for us. It's kind of weird. When we started, we were all about yes, like yeah, let's do that, and we got so big that now we're more about no. You know what I mean? Like, because we need more space and more volunteer time, and we actually need less of the kind of stuff we used to love in the past. I saw you first, and then you.
Yeah, all your equipment you get, is it all donated? Like the welder and the bandsaw and the CNN, the CCA?
Yeah. So we have a variety of ways of having tools. In the beginning, it was a bunch of us just sharing our personal tools, and we'd bring them in there, and then everybody would get a chance to use them. And then people started donating tools to us. And then we, again, were successful enough that we now have decent revenue when we buy a lot of our own tools. And that almost feels, we love donated stuff. The loaned tools feels great because it's someone you know, and it's community. But at the same time, we feel really bad when it inevitably gets broken. We're like, sorry about that. I know it's your tool, and we'll do our best to fix it, but sometimes we can't. So if we buy the tool, then it feels better. But yeah, we do get stuff donated.
On the membership, $25 a month for seniors.
Yeah.
Is that a commitment for a year or just
Nope.
a month-to-month basis?
Month to month.
And if you were to have a project, you could bring it,
Yeah.
work on it, leave it there, and have some continuity with that?
Yeah. So what I like to tell people is, you could come in for a couple months before Christmas, maybe make some Christmas presents, and then stop being a member for whatever, and then maybe come back in the summer, whatever you need. You can keep being a member forever, you can come and go, you can come for a month and then leave. It's whatever you need.
I don't know, why did you bring up about the Oscar Mayer Wiener? I was the one that got inside of the first one.
Did you really?
Yeah, at the northern plant. I helped build it. Yeah.
No kid. You guys?
I had to smear the plastic into the fiberglass.
Oh, that's amazing.
It's just amazing that
Did
I
you-
could bring that up today.
Did you guys have a form that you started off of it? Like, what'd you build the
It was
form from?
2 halves. When I got done,
Yeah.
they just put the 2 together and then went on a Jeep, Jeep truck or whatever was what they used for the frame.
Nice.
I had to quit right about the time they moved it over and put it on, because I was getting, I was the one that cut out the forms for protecting your machinery, the belts and stuff.
Uh-huh.
They made the plastic cover and then I'd have to cut it out. And I was getting too much in my lungs, so
Yeah.
I was told I couldn't look at it anymore.
Yeah, that's the thing about fiberglass. It's awesome
I
stuff.
was wearing a
but
mask, but it still gets through.
still got in. Yeah, it feels like we're getting better at masks. I mean, when I was a carpenter back in the day, we just had dust masks, which were kind of like the masks we're all wearing these days. You know, and they kind of worked. But now you look at the respirator kind of things they got going on, they're super sealed. But I'm sorry that got to you. That's.
So I got 2 or 3 little diggy, I got my collection of little wieners.
Yeah.
On the shelf.
Yeah, they're awesome. What a cool part that you got to play in that. Question back?
On your wire, your welders, are they wire feed or stick?
We have a TIG, a MIG, and oxyacetylene.
Okay.
I think the TIG does stick. The MIG is wire feed.
Right.
Yeah, I think the TIG does stick as well. We
Do you
don't
have
do.
somebody come in and train you, or do you guys just experiment to learn it?
So I think our 2 welders, the MIG and the TIG, were both donated by the guy who's now the area captain. So the way we're all volunteer run, and so it's just, you know, all of us just do this in our free time. And so Randy, who's our area, so each area has an area captain, or a couple of them now, and they're the people that check you off on the tools and train you how to use them, and they get to decide on their budget. You know, we're going to buy this tool, or we're going to spend that repair, or we're not. And so Randy, well, actually, and a couple other guys now will do trainings. A lot of we also wanted to do, we used to do more classes, and we want to do a lot more, because right now, most of our classes are training on how to use the tool. So it's like how not to cut your fingers off with the table saw. That's our training. Versus how to really do woodworking. That's a whole different, conversation. So yeah, as far as welding, it's a one-on-one, and I think Randy usually charges a little bit for his time, because he'll take a couple hours with each person, and they would just do one thing at a time. It'd be MIG or TIG, or maybe TIG aluminum, etc.
Do you know of the organization, my brother was telling me about it, up in Minneapolis? It's regarding computers. So you turn in your own computer and they recondition it, and they actually have classes that train the volunteers there as far as, like Dell, and then they resell them as reconditioned computers, Is there an organization in Madison that does that?
I have heard of things like that with Danenet. So Dane.net online, and they'll do some things like that. Their mission is making sure everybody has access to the internet and to computers. And so they'll help people by building systems, and they'll often take other systems and put the parts together. Sometimes they'll teach people how to do, a lot of times they focus more on the programming, on the software side, than how to build your own computer. But yeah, there's so much leftover computer parts in the world. It's another one of those things where there's so many parts and pieces out there, and our growth in the speed of computers that we require. I mean, the phone in my pocket now is like so much faster than probably some of the big desktop computers from 10 years ago. Like, it's crazy how this has grown. But so I would say Danenet is probably the only place I've heard that does something like that. They're a really cool organization. They're a nonprofit as well. Somebody had, yes?
Another thing, I think you got to be careful not to let too many people know about this, because I think there's a tremendous demand. My brother, he was the head person at the Overture Center,
Nice.
And he is so creative. I mean, one of his friends had somebody die and they wanted a little computer for the cremation. And he built one of those, and you can't keep up with it. But he likes to be creative, and
Yeah.
right now, I mean, he goes to place cards, but I think he's got a huge garage, but they're thinking of moving into an apartment, and boy, this would be just perfect for them.
Yeah, and we
be able to help other people too.
Yeah, there's so much joy in doing it around other people, because maybe you're very knowledgeable and you want to share that with someone else. That feels good. Or maybe you're really good at this sort of thing, but you would like to learn about that other sort of thing, and so you can learn that from someone else. Or maybe you can work on the project together. 3 of us built a video game arcade for like a homeless community center. And we just did that together, and we're like, hey, I want to do this. You want to do it with me? Oh, we built a bunch of the tiny houses. We put out a call in our membership and said, who wants to do this? And like 30 of us showed up and just built tiny houses. So it's really fun to do that sort of thing. So you're right. Let's not let this secret get out. So you all know, but don't tell anybody. Maybe your brother. Maybe your brother. That's it. Do you have a question? Somebody over here? Yeah.
Under the foil, under classes, meetups, events, there's an address, Oscar Meyer.
Yeah.
What is the number?
Sorry. It's 740 Oscar Meyer Avenue, which is the new title. It used to be like Oscar Meyer Service Road or something. It's when you drive into, most people know where Oscar Meyer is, you know, and if you go there off of like Commercial and Packers, you just take that little forwarding road, and we're right on that forwarding road. It's this brick building. See if I can, whoops. There, off to the, see in the bottom right there? It's that building. As you drive in, it's before you get to the main fountain where the main entrance to Oscar Meyer is. And just, there's a giant parking lot there. Do a couple donies and then park. And come join us.
And you said your tours are on Friday and?
Yeah, our tours, we're open to the public. Come on in and see the place every Friday night from 7 to 9 p.m. And yeah, we'll walk you around and see what you're interested in. Any other questions?
Do you have a website?
We do. It's thebodgery.org. And that's B-O-D as in dog, G as in goat, E-R-Y. Thebodgery.org is our website. I should have brought brochures. We don't really have any, but I could have made some. That would have been smart, if I was thinking.
How many people do you have there at one time from on an average basis?
So our membership is about 400 people. And then we, it kind of depends on the time of day and the day. So we get retirees during the weekdays. They love that. So it used to be the quietest time in our shop was like Tuesday afternoon. But now the weekdays are busier with folks who have free time. Weekends tend to be kind of busy. Some weeknights, like a Thursday night or Friday night, well, not Fridays, will be busy. So it sort of depends. We might have 30 people in the shop at a time, and there might be no one. You might just be you. It's kind of, it's luck of the draw.
But you said that they were open 24 hours?
Yeah, so when you're a member, you have a key. You just swipe the key fob and it unlocks the door. So you can access it any day.
2 a.m. in the morning.
Yeah. Yeah, we have members who that's their time is overnight, and so you know it'll be 2 in the morning, and the lights will be on, and someone will be doing that work. And some people like to come when there aren't others around, and some people like to come when there are others around. So you can kind of figure it out yourself.
I'm just curious on this, you mentioned a spray booth?
Yeah.
I restore vintage motorcycles. Is it the kind of location that you're going to bring your own, paint supplies, but is it a sealed compartment or?
So we what do you call it? Salvaged a spray booth from a guy who had it in his shop, and he was moving his shop and he didn't want it. It was kind of, come get it and you can have it for free deal. So right now it's in pieces, and so we're building out the new space. When we finish building it out, we're going to start assembling that spray booth, and we're going to have to talk to the fire inspector several times, I'm sure, about that. But, so, all of that is to say, it'll be a little while before we get that up and running. 6 months, I hope. It is, the booth, as I remember it, is about 8 feet by 8 by 10, 8 by 12.
Okay.
However, again, thanks to our friend, the fire inspector, we don't allow internal combustion engines inside our building. But if you had the tank that you want, you know, or
Components.
yeah, frames or whatever, yeah, bring those in. Yeah, bring them in and spray them, and then teach us how to do it. Like that's how things happen at the Badri. Is someone gets super excited about it. This just happened with ceramics. You know, we'd had some folks being like, we want a pottery wheel, and we're like, okay, we'll make that happen. Like, you know, I don't know, like do that. And then finally somebody was like, okay, that's fine. And then we got a kiln donated to us, and they're like, and now we have a ceramics, or we will, as soon as we finish building it, we're gonna have a ceramics area. And so somebody will say, somebody said, we really need glass, hot glass, like torch work, not glass blowing, but the torch work. And I've got stuff. And we're like, awesome, how about right there? You know, so they set up their stuff and they started teaching people how to do it, and now we've got several people doing hot glass work. And so yeah, please come in and teach us how to do auto spraying. Yes?
I worked for a company that did a lot of painting, spray booths and stuff.
Oh, nice.
And just so what you know you're getting into, one spray booth costs over $50,000 to install.
I know.
Because you have to have air filters.
Yeah.
And that's just one air filter for certain kind of paint, then you gotta have another one.
Yeah.
You gotta change these filters every day.
Yeah.
And that's gonna cost you a lot of money.
Yeah. We'll see.
Because I know the fire department.
We'll definitely say we'll change it every day.
They had to put a big stack outside, and then they had to filter that too.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you, the spray booth, for little jobs is okay, but if you're doing anything with a big spray gun, regular one that holds a quart of paint or more, it's gonna cost you a lot of money to keep that spray booth going.
We'll see how it goes. I mean, yeah, that is exactly the conversation I had with the fire inspector last time. When we were building our own, we just had a place, we framed it out and we put a thing on it. And she walked out, I thought she was gonna have a coronary. She's like, why did you put a ceiling on that? Now your sprinklers don't work. And we're like, oh yeah, that's an excellent point. I didn't think about that.
Yeah, that's another thing, you had to have a sprinkler in there too.
Yep, and explosion-proof electronics, and
Yep.
you know, it needs to move this amount of cubic feet per minute or second or whatever. Yeah, I've had that conversation. That is exactly why we don't have an auto area. That was another part. That was another heart attack for the fire inspector when we got to this area. I'm like, yeah, we're gonna have an auto area right here, and she's like, no, you're not, unless you do. And she just started listing it off, and I was like, okay, I don't think we're gonna have an auto area. Too bad. I mean, we were really excited about that.
Well, there's those garages there you could, are they being rented out or what?
Yeah, we've talked about that.
Yeah,
There's many outbuildings
that's where
there.
they put the Wienermobile, the form, you know, the two halves. They kept it over there and stored it.
Well, do you remember, so when you were there, do you remember the low brick building off to the side? It was like, it was where the wood shop was and the machine shop. They had offices in there.
Oh, sorry,
It's okay.
I just know that I was told that they put it there.
Yeah.
No, I've only been to, I went to the union office, that's a
Yeah.
building across the street.
Yeah. There was a question back here? Yeah.
You said, you know, you're doing, you know, glass molding, you know, with a torch. Back in high school, at East High School, we did that, well, it was called R.O.M.E.O, but we also did, you know, jewelry. And then we were, you know, making things with the torch too. And do you have that?
Yes. I mean, we have a jewelry making section. They have torches. And then we have the hot glass area, which is torch work.
Yeah.
And I'm not I don't really know much about that area, but I see all the paraphernalia. Like I see all the torches and the kiln and stuff. So yes, we have most of it, I think.
And of course, the other thing that the class had was, you know, you'd make the mold, you know, basically, you know, you carve out what you're going to have in wax, and then you put it in the mold, and then you melted wax out, and that was the mold.
Yeah.
And the gold or silver would go on that.
Yeah, the jewelry maker area captain, Roger, he has a studio and he does a bunch of his jewelry making and lapidary work, stonework there. And he taught some classes in that, and there was like lost wax and other casting kind of stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, because I got away from that part of it, but you know, the other, you know, twisting and attaching, and doing different things like that.
Yeah, yeah, it's super fun. It's really great too. Like I might be a woodworker, but I might see somebody making something really amazing in glass or metal and get sort of inspired and go back and do something really cool with wood. Or I might think like, maybe I want to learn how to do that and, you know, kind of hang out with them for a while and learn. It's fun, yes.
How do you protect the stuff that's there? You know, like, if you got something that maybe it's pretty expensive that you brought there to have work done, and you gotta leave it there, how's that work?
Trust.
Trust?
Yeah, I mean, that's always been the question. People say, you got a lot of expensive equipment here. It could walk away. We're like, yeah, it could. We do have security cameras. And we've had that from the beginning. And actually, you know, the way we use our security cameras the most is somebody will leave a giant mess and not clean up after themselves. And instead of yelling at everybody, like, whoever did the blah, 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 you could just clean up after you, not your mother, you know, all that kind of stuff. And that'd be like every week. So what we can do instead is look back at the security camera and be like, oh, that was Joe. And then we can have a private conversation, polite conversation with Joe and say, hey, you know, when you torqued on that handle and broke it, what would have been great is if you told us about it so we could fix it. And we have those kind of conversations. So we've had a couple of things walk away, but for the most part, not so much. We have member shelving, and it's just basically metal shelves, and people leave their stuff there. We have, I mean, honestly, we've really not had a problem with active thievery. We've had people have brought like really nice wood and then didn't really label it well enough, between you and me. But, and then somebody else grabbed it because they thought it was free and made something from it. So that was very upsetting to the person who lost their materials. So that sort of thing will happen, but we don't really have people stealing stuff. Yes?
If you have one of those old parts by themselves, say at 2 a.m. in the morning,
Yeah.
and somebody has a heart attack,
That's an excellent question.
I mean, I would think that you'd want at least 2 people in there at any one time.
Yeah, that would be a good way to do it. That is not, however, the way we do it. We just let people go in, come when they come and go. So.
It wouldn't be a bad way to go.
Yeah, doing the thing you love.
Unfortunately, you know, with businesses running until something happens.
It's true. Yeah.
Do you require to sign sign in?
Uh,
Sign out? That would be a good idea.
So we have a liability waiver form, which probably isn't worth much in a court, but it says, I understand that I'm responsible for myself, and if I hurt myself, and we do our best to train people on how to use the tools safely. We have area captains who kind of hang out as much as they can and catch people doing stupid things and be like, okay, you might want to pull your hand back a little bit from that, or not have long hair by the spinny thing, etc. And then at the end of the day, I mean, we also haven't had very many injuries. We've been lucky. Yeah.
I can see why the fire department would be particularly interested in this whole place, because to me it sounds like a time bomb waiting to happen. When you have solvent-soaked rags lying around, people that don't clean up after themselves, dust.
Yeah.
It's,
we have
wood, but,
we have frequent conversations with people. Solvent-soaked rags are not allowed to stay. We tell people that if you bring it in, take it home with you. And if somebody does leave it, we use the security cameras, find out who they are, have that conversation with them. If they don't stop doing that dumb thing, then we kick them out. Question in the back.
Yeah, of course, being us Myers, you know, losing a finger or two, I'd have worked on the cut line would stop. They'd grab the guy's finger, grab the guy off to the hospital, and he'd come back, and he may have the finger back on, he may not. Of course, You wanted to catch that finger so it wouldn't end up, you know, in the hot.
Yeah. That'd be a little extra flavor.
Yeah.
Yeah. Was that a last question?
Curious, what percentage are men and what percentage are women?
It's mostly men. One of the two of us that started the social group, and then one of the 4 founders is a woman, and so both of us always want as many women to participate, but we have to do better outreach, because I think there's so many people that understand. I can't tell you the number of couples that'll come, and then and the woman will be like, oh, I'm just here supporting him, and I'm like, do you like to make things? And she's like, oh, well, I don't really do woodworking. And it's like, okay, what else do you do? And turns out she does a whole bunch of crafts, or she does a whole bunch of other things, or maybe she wanted to learn woodworking, or she had this secret interest in welding that we never knew, and then she hangs out there, and she gets more comfortable, and she starts welding. So our job is to get more women and more diversity in our space, because we want everyone to feel like they're good enough, smart enough, cool enough to come and make stuff.
Thank you very much.
You're very welcome.